Week 1 is here. Gator fans, are you ready? We're going to preview the Florida-Utah matchup here in this video. It's going to be a big one on Thursday night. Can't wait to see what happens in this matchup. Now, let's get right into it. The game, of course, will be on at 8 o'clock Eastern Time on ESPN. You got the 14th ranked Utah Utes here hosting the Florida Gators. And this one, you look at their last 5 games. How did they finish last season? Florida, well, they lost their last 3 games. Oregon State, Florida State, and Vanderbilt. Not a good finish. And I think that's a big reason why people are a little bit down on Florida coming into this year. And they feel like this team is a team that does not have a lot of momentum and is going to have a rough year this year. For Utah, they lost to Penn State in the bowl game. Of course, Cam Rising got injured in that one. They had wins over USC and Colorado before that, of course, winning the Pac-12 championship. Did lose to Oregon, and they beat Stanford in a blowout. So, you know, both teams kind of up and down last season. Utah did win the Pac-12, but they had some bad moments last year as well. Of course, they lost to Florida in the opener. You look at the stats, and again, this is based off of last year, so you can't read too much into this, but you compare the offenses. Utah they were better scoring the football. They were better through the air in the passing game. They were better on the ground. They were able to possess the ball longer, ran more plays. The yards per play, though, that's where Florida had an advantage. They made a lot of big plays. Of course, Anthony Richardson, a big part of that, and now he is gone. You compare these two defenses, and you see Utah had the better defense scoring-wise. Against the pass, Utah was better. Against the run, Utah much better. And I think that's a big story in this game. Utah against this Florida rushing attack, because we know Florida's going to want to run the football. Time of possession, Utah was better there, keeping the other team off the field. Number of plays, Utah much better there. Florida's defense would give up almost 70 plays a game last year. And then yards per play, again, an advantage for Utah. And then if you compare, Florida's offense against Utah's defense, and you start to look at, strength on strength or whatever may have you, Florida, again, really good running the football. Utah really good against the run. That is going to be a big story in this game. So we'll see how that plays out. And then on the other side, Florida's defense, they were pretty good against the run last year as well, going up against a good Utah rushing attack. So we'll see how that matchup plays out as well. All right, so OddsShark, they've got this one so they've got this spread at 6.5 points. The over/under is at 46.5. So they're expecting the odds, I should say, are expecting a low. Vegas expecting a low-scoring game here, but the OddsShark predictor actually, they think this one's going to go over, and their predictor gives a score of 31.1 to 26.3 in favor of Utah. So they think Utah will win, Florida will cover, and the total will go over. I personally think this is going to be a lower scoring game. I don't see a lot of points scored in this one. I think both defenses are going to have the advantage. The FBI has Utah winning at 73.3% chance that Utah wins this game. So they are expecting a fairly easy, or they feel like this was pretty predictable that Utah will win this game. All right, so let's look at some injuries here for Florida. You got some guys banged up. Carroll, the running back, he is out for the season. They're not going to have him. And then Boone, of course, on the defensive line, they're going to be missing him. But some of these other guys are banged up. We'll see if they're able to go. I feel like most of them probably will play. Pearsall is going to be huge, though. They've got to have him in there. I don't have all the info here, but they've got this listed as an illness, so hopefully he's good to go. And then for Utah, Keithy, they've got him listed here as probable. They've got Rising as probable. I disagree with that. I'll come back. And then Brandon Rose, who was supposed to be the backup, I don't think he's going to play in this game either. So my thoughts on this, I think Keithy will play. He got injured before Rising, so he's had more time to recover. Cam Rising, will he play? That is really up in the air. I personally, all right, this is my opinion on this. I don't think he's playing. Based off of everything I've seen, I know they listed him at number 1 on the depth chart. I don't think he's playing. I think it'll be Bryson Barnes, who has had some time in there, but is definitely, not as good as Cam Rising, not as experienced, not as talented. So they will be missing Cam Rising in this game. But the offense isn't built around Cam Rising. This is a team that likes to run the football. They like to throw to their tight ends, easy short passes, things like that. So I don't think it's as big of a deal as maybe some people are making it out to be, but absolutely they'll miss him. He's a leader for them, and if he does not play, it definitely gives Florida a better chance in this game. So the key matchups here for Florida, it's their O-line versus the Utah D-line. So we're going to look at the matchups of the Florida offense against the Utah defense and then flip it around. But I do think this will be the key for the Florida offense. It's the offensive line. Can they open up holes and run the football? They've got to be able to run the ball. If they're going to win this game, they have got to be able to run it. And then protect Graham Mertz. That's also going to be a big key. If you look at him last year, under pressure, didn't do great. Had a tendency to bail and leave the pocket and roll out, and he's not a great runner. I think he's an underrated runner. He can scramble and get some yards when he needs to. But you know, if he's having to bail the pocket and throw on the run against also a good secondary for Utah as well, that's going to be a problem for Florida. But if they can hold up front, if they can control that Utah defensive line and run the football, and I do think that depth could be a problem for Utah. If you look at what's, especially in the middle of their defensive line, if you look at what is behind those starters, they don't have a ton of experience depth. So I think that potentially could be a reason for concern for Utah's defense, and maybe Florida can wear them down by the time they get to the fourth quarter. But if Florida's offensive line cannot get them 4 or 5 yards per play on the ground, and they can't protect Graham Mertz, it's going to be really tough for Florida to score in this game. And then on the other side, I think it's the Utah running backs and tight ends against the Florida linebackers. That's the matchup I'm looking at here. You know, Florida doesn't have, I wouldn't say, any stars at linebacker. You know, they've got some pretty good players. You've got Mitchell there, the transfer coming in. You've got Scooby Williams, Derek Wingo, Shamar James, a young player for them. Nunnerly. You know, they've got players that are pretty good, but are they good enough, and are they ready for this moment? Can they come up and can they stop the run against these really good Utah running backs? You know, I think the Florida defensive line is going to be able to do their job. I think that they probably have an advantage over this Utah offensive line. They definitely have a size advantage. This is a really big Florida defensive line. So I think they're able to kind of hold up front, but can the linebackers come in? Can they fill those gaps? Can they stop the run, make plays behind the line of scrimmage? And in the passing game, can they stop these tight ends, specifically Keithy for Utah? If he's good to go, he is a problem. And this is a really good tight end, one of the best in the country coming into the season. And they've got other guys as well. So that'll be a big key matchup, I think, for the Florida defense. Can they stop? Can their linebackers stop the running backs and the tight ends? So you look across the rest of the board, you know, I think the secondary for Florida in pretty good shape. I think they can hold up. Utah did add some transfers, some players at wide receiver that I think make them better, but I think Florida's secondary can hold up. And like I said, I think their defensive line is going to hold up. So that's what I'm looking at there. And then on the flip side, back to Utah, when they are on, or flip it around to Florida's offense, when they are on offense, you know, I feel like Utah's secondary is going to be able to hold up against this Florida passing attack. We'll see. You know, Graham Mertz, I'm not sold on him. I want to see what he looks like out there on the field this season in this Florida offense. But I think they're going to be able to hold up there. And then the linebackers for Utah are going to be good. So can they get a push up front? Can they protect Graham Mertz? Again, that is going to be the key going back to that Florida offense. So it's going to be a big game coming up Thursday night. I'll have my prediction on this game coming up a little bit later. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more.